has come out tonight for our October 4 board meeting. I want to thank Mayor Gist for letting us use City Hall. I want to thank the county commissioners for joining us tonight. But by my clock, it is 5:30, and it is time to call this board meeting and work session to order. We're going to begin with a moment of silence. But before we do, if you do have a cell phone, if you don't turn it off, please silence it. And if you do need to make a call or take a call, please step outside to do so. I will say there are some empty seats up front if you would like to come sit. As of now, at this time, let's have our moment of silence. Tonight, the presentation of colors and the Pledge of Allegiance will be presented by the Liberty Tech Air Force ROTC under the direction of Colonel Thomas E. Snodgrass. Those that will be presenting colors for us, I'll go ahead and introduce them to you. It's Cadet First Lieutenant Stone, Cadet First Lieutenant Smith, Staff Sergeant Dyer, and Staff Sergeant Morris.
Color guard, hold, left, ace, present, goes.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, goes. Right, ace, forward, arch.
I want to thank Colonel Snodgrass and Air Force, Liberty Tech Air Force ROTC for the presentations of colors. Thank you. Moving on, the next thing on the agenda is approvals. 2.1, the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Now on to the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we postpone the consideration of the following motion to be discussed to Jackson-Madison County Board Retreat on October the 20th for possible board action at the November meeting. Motion 3, Motion 5, Motion 6, Motion 7, Motion 8, and Motion 9.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It was for Janet. It was, could you read those again?
Yes, motion number 3, motion number 5, motion number 6, motion number 7, motion number 8, and motion number 9.
3,
3, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
did you get all that, Janet? So those items will be removed from the consent agenda. Moving on to public comments. I've wrote out how I think the best way is to do this tonight, because there are so many here and so many who want to speak. I want to limit public comments to 3 minutes each. I'm asking that I will set a buzzer for 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And that buzzer will go off with 20 seconds left. So you'll know to begin to conclude what you would have to say. At this time, I would like to ask all those that are in favor of an agenda item to come over to your right, the right side of the room. And all those that are against an agenda item, move to the left side of the room.
You said they don't want to stay.
Because there are so many that would like to speak, I just feel that it would be easier. Only so many are going to be able to speak. I feel like this would be an easier way to do it. Yes.
Even the removed agenda items we discussed?
I wouldn't think we could discuss them if they're not on the agenda.
We cannot.
That's right. That's fine. If you just want to address the board, that's fine. Yes, just come right up here to the microphone.
The lady is correct.
Right here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Jackie McKnight. Okay, sure. Hear me now?
Yes.
My name is Jackie McKnight, and I'm here speaking on behalf of my grandkids, being the voice for my grandkids that are students of the Jackson-Madison County, I'm thinking on at work, at the, for the district, this district. First of all, I want to start out by saying to Dr. Jones, I'm sorry, everybody's name. Dr. Jones, that, no, don't think that we're here to discredit you or kind of make you feel that we don't appreciate you, but we do. But my biggest concern is the inner city schools. You know, when you first got here, I called the radio station and asked you, what are your plans for the inner city schools? You said that you understood that those schools need special needs. So my question to you is, what are we going to do different for those schools? Now, I've been hearing that Liberty is crowded, overcrowded. Why can't we reopen JCM? The building is there, it's empty. Why can't we reopen that school so those children will not be in there to be so crowded in this school? That's one of the problems, that's one of the causes of the behavior. Everybody's packed in there like a bunch of sardines. Let's try doing something different. You know, I'm gonna tell you, like I told Dr. Zambito, and like I told Dr. Ruffin, once the new school, which I don't care where they build that school, I don't care, build 2+2, but I don't care. I just want our school, the inner city schools, children to be taken care of. They deserve a good education. But once that school is built, if it's built, you see all this support you have here? Once it's built, it's gonna be me, you, and the board. Everybody else, gone. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mrs. McKnight.
How y'all doing, ladies and gentlemen of the board?
Just fine, how are you?
I got involved with the Jackson-Madison County School System.
What's your name, sir?
My name is Billy Wayne Moore. I got involved with the Jackson-Madison County School System when Ms. Zambito was there, and they was talking about closing JCM then. The thing that troubles a lot of us in our community is that we don't have no investment in helping our young men and our young women with the education in our community. It seems like we're always finding ways to put correction or jail. I'm a product of jail. I'm a product of the Jackson-Madison County School System. What this county commission is proposing is an offset to the miseducation of our kids. If you continue to let the institutions in East Jackson fall by the wayside, those very young men and women that we say we love and care for are gonna end up in their county jail downtown. Your study said within about third grade, if your children cannot read, they're a product of prison. You know what I mean? So I'm saying it's a conscience right here in Jackson-Madison County. When do we start using you show your love of good Christian community? I hear Gary Dean with the Christian commercials on all the time. You know, when do you start caring enough about our young men and women in the poor and impoverished community to go in and spend your money? Say you put your money where you love. Dr. Jones, the guy from American Chamber, what's his name? He came and made promises to the school board that they're going to invest in our school system. Gary Dean came and made promises they were going to invest in our school system. Mayor Jimmy Harris came with a plan they were going to invest. Nothing has transpired. The brothers and sisters who have just got elected to the board, if it weren't for y'all, we would be sitting here talking about this. Y'all got our community on the table. Don't let them take it off the table, man. Do nothing. This is all we got. JCM was the last hope of educating our community. You take our kids from Hayes Street to send them out to North Side. Take our kids out in the Heights, send them out to West. They can walk to JCM. Mothers can get to JCM. Fathers can walk by there and see their kids and help be a part of change direction of our children. 18 years in prison, seeing young men in my community coming to the dome, can't read. You know, I'm just saying, man, y'all got us on the table talking about this. Mayor Walter, don't drop the ball, man. I don't care what Gary D. them said. Y'all have shown the intestinal fortitude to stand up and put out issues on the table. Gary D. them, they got $49 million to put on some rapists, some people that child molesters, to get them a Taj Mahal downtown. Why? We ain't got we got asbestos in JCM, been there for years.
Mr. Moore, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you're 3 minutes up. I appreciate your passion.
No problem, man. I thank y'all for the
Thank
time,
you so
man.
much.
Y'all have a blessed one.
I'm gonna come after you, lady. Can I come after you? Well, I know, I'll come after him. Ladies first.
Good evening. I'm sitting on this side, but I'm not here because Claudel Brown,
Thank you.
because I'm against. I'm here because I'm for the parents and the children of Madison County. I appreciate and respect you and the job that you have to do. I just hope that you're conscious of the heritage that you are now a part of. Inner City and East Jackson have been victims of taxation without representation in a different way. Every capital improvement program for the last 25 years has told to equal closing schools, letting maintenance go neglected and deferred in the city, and taking all the money north. As a county commissioner, I ran by district, but I'm entrusted with the quality of life and the progress and the development of this total county. Your job, like mine, are not designed for little people. They're not designed for people who have small vision, but people who love our community and believe that we represent the hope for our community. I hope so much that you'll benefit from those who will be before you. When the public speak, we're to listen. And I hope that you're doing that, and I hope that you're not just having this as a thing of convenience. When citizens call me as a commissioner, when the majority of my district is in the city, about dumping in the county, that's as important to me as anything else, because I spend everybody's money. You spend everybody's money. the needs at one community. Surgery is always major when it's yours. And it should not be treated like it's minor when it's somebody else. I pray for you to use vision and consideration for the needs of this Toll County. We do not need explanations for why small kids will have to go all the way to Pope, why we will build and improve stadiums without stopping the leak on students who are trying to learn, but that you would show us a better way, show new fortitude to represent all the people so that there will not be taxation, because we pay our taxes. Will not be taxation without representation. Good luck.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Good afternoon. With God on our side, we can't lose. Believe it or not, I feel like I've lost my voice, but I'm going to speak. I've come before you today because you have the 10-year capital plan before you, as well as you have 5 new board members. In July and August, as I went to the meetings, I saw there was a rush for the old board members of the board to get in their agenda. I thought some of the items should have been waited until the new board, but there was a rush. I'm very disappointed. I'm disappointed because now, for some reason, quite a few of the board members was new after the unitary status was passed. We had new board members, and it seemed like since they've gotten the 10-year capital plan, a lot of them have left. And expecting new boards just to follow in after them. I was told that I thought the superintendent works for the board. The board has a decision to change anything and not be pressured. I come here today because I'm concerned about businessmen investing in a public school system, borrowing money and making gains down the road. I don't think it should be taxpayers. Taxpayers shouldn't have to see this happen. I'm against businessmen loaning money to this system. Mr. Campbell, I say that because you caught my eye. But bottom line is, I can't hardly talk, but I think this board, this new board, and the whole entire board has a responsibility, Ms. Hampton, to make the right decision for the citizens, the children, and for this community. So I support Mr. Merriweather because I know he's here to do the right thing. And Mr. Merriweather, I didn't like that picture that Jackson's son had. They need to do a better job. So with all of this said, I do not support whatever's in the long-range plan. Businessmen loaning money to the board and getting paid back later. I think we can. I think the county commission need to come up with the money. So with that being said, I'm finished. But with only one other thing, I begged. Sheila Godwin begged JCM for y'all to keep JCM in the city. Y'all would not listen to me, and I didn't expect you to. But you know what? One thing you're gonna listen to is God. So, Mr. Merriweather, keep them on their toes.
Kevin,
Would you out there and be out here?
you might if I just have a follow-up question here.
Go ahead.
Sheila?
Miss Godwin.
Miss Godwin,
Thank
excuse me. I have to ask, do you think I've loaned money to the system?
I said that my eyes was on you.
I just asked you.
Do I-
Just say yes or no.
Do I think that you moved this?
That I've loaned money to the system.
Do I think that you loan money to the system? I hadn't even thought about that, but I do think this.
Well, let me just state,
No,
since we got a big
I-
audience, I have not.
I haven't finished talking. I do think I'm against subcontractors, second parties, H&L-M's owned by you, investing in public funds. I'm against that. Thank you.
So I think, I'm sorry, Gabe Hart, I'm a teacher in the district, and I can't add anything to this conversation that hasn't been added in the last 4 days, probably. I think I can give a different perspective. I was a student in Jackson-Madison County Schools from kindergarten through my senior year, graduated from JCM in '97. At a time when JCM had over 2,000 kids. We had a state championship girls basketball team. Our valedictorians went to Northwestern and Harvard. And I say all that to say, not that we have to go back to that. I say that a lot has changed in 20 years in our district. A lot's changed in 11 years since I've been a teacher at Northeast. Since I've been a teacher, Dr. Jones is our 4th superintendent. So that's a superintendent every 2.5 years. We haven't had a lot of stability. We haven't had a lot of continuity. We've had people who have had plans, but they weren't visionaries. And I say all that to say, for the last year, we've had continuity. For the last year, teachers that I work with and that I speak with on social media and in real life have a lot of confidence in our leadership, a lot. It frees us up to teach and not to worry about schools closing or rezoning. The plan that Dr. Jones laid out is a plan that the majority of us, and I don't speak for everybody, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm speaking for every teacher. I think I'm speaking for the majority of teachers. The plan that Dr. Jones has laid out has given us confidence. It's given us security, and it doesn't just go to buildings that are being built or zone lines that may or may not be redrawn. It goes to even curriculum in the classroom. For the first time, we've had leadership from the top that cares about curriculum and that has a plan in the classroom for curriculum, that cares about having students read or at a certain reading level by 3rd grade. That's huge. And I think a lot of times we miss the point because we don't hear, I guess, from people who are on the front lines and what they feel about everything that's going on. And I'm concerned that a lot of these changes that have sort of come out of nowhere just in the last 4 days have the potential to sort of wreck things. And that, I don't want to be hyperbolic about this, and that may not be the case. But there hasn't been often since I've been teaching that we have the city supporting, the county commission supporting. And let me just say this, I'm not, like, I have questioned the county commission on a lot of things they've done up to this point, but we have everybody on the same page for once, and that's huge. This is something that we all need to be on the same page for our kids. You all set policy, but we impact kids every day. We do. And I think it's important to hear what we have to say, because we're in the classroom and we're on the front lines every single day. And you'll have big decisions to make. But I just want to speak from the perspective of a teacher who's been here, from a person who's lived in Jackson their entire lives. This is a very important time. And what you all do right now is going to be very important for years to come. So it's not something that needs to be a knee-jerk reaction to anything. And in my opinion, it's not something that needs to have a whole lot of change for what Dr. Jones has laid out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sherry Franks. This is my first time at one of these meetings. But about last week, he brought to my attention that my child goes to Pope Elementary. He's a kindergartner. My other children have gone to private school up to this point. And he is there, and we're very happy with the school and what they're doing. And it came to my concern that they wanted to move the kids in Pope to a high school. That's very concerning to me. My child has Down syndrome. He doesn't speak clearly. And we're going to move him to a high school where he's going to be somewhat integrated, no matter how many barriers you put up and how many walls you put up, integrated with high school children. No matter how good they are, They have different values, they have different goals, they have different means. I have a 13-year-old child, I know how that is. And I have some very grave concerns of taking elementary school kids and putting them in a high school because a school is crowded when there's other options. I don't know all the particulars that are going on, but I am educating myself very quickly. But I do have concerns about taking children and putting them in with kids substantially older and hoping that that works temporarily while we find them a place to go. And from my understanding, that could be anywhere from 2 to 6 years is what I heard from one of the board members. That's just not acceptable in my eyes. All kids are important. But when you have a child that doesn't have their own voice, you've got to speak up for them. And you've got to fight for them. And you've got to make sure that everybody understands that where you put that child could determine what is the outcome for the rest of their life. Because they can't speak for themselves right now. And that's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Mrs. Franks.
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yes,
could you state your name again, please?
Sherry Franks.
Sherry Franks. Thank you, Ms. Franks.
Thank you, Ms. Franks. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Harold Carter, President of Jackson-Madison County NAACP, and I want to thank you all for your service. I know sometimes it looks daunting, it's a task that you have before you, but it's one that you asked for. We're glad that you got it. Now what do you do with it? I come before you today because I think in looking at the past election, I think those of you that's new to this situation, I know you got some eye-openers, and I know that you're learning a lot of things that you didn't know before. But I think you can know in my heart that you are capable of doing the job. And I want to commend you for taking your time and giving us the opportunity for your leadership. I have a few concerns, some of which has already been stated. Test scores. Looking at our school system for the last several years, we are in the bottom of a lot of districts across the state, and we know this. The question is, what do we do? It's going to take yeoman's effort and a lot of professional teachers to get us where we need to go, along with leadership. Leadership is going to be key, because if you're going to reference all of the children, to make sure that each and every one of these children in the school system maximize their potential to learn. It seems like it's simple. Oftentimes it is difficult, but I know we got good teachers dedicated to the cause, and they can do it if you give them the methods in which to do it. 92% graduation rate. That's good, it's high. But when we look at the ACT scores, and when we look at the ability to function at the next level, whether it's military or whether it's academics, we fall far short. If we look at the dynamics of the children in school that are either African Americans, Hispanics, we look at the quality issues, equity in those. Are they getting the best? School books, material, technology is lacking. I realize that everybody does their best, and I hope that you will do your best. Oftentimes the best is not good enough. Prior to coming to this meeting and turn to address this body, I was told by some people in the community that we were against Mr. Jones. No, we're not against you, Mr. Jones. We want to support you. But in reality, it's really not about you as much as it is about the children. It's about the teachers that go to work every day trying to do their best job of making sure that these children learn. We've got to stop this insaneness of passing these kids from grade to grade, and they didn't make the last grade. Third grade level, if they're not learning by that time, then we know what problems that they're going to have. Early childhood development, yes, it costs money, and we do have money, but we're not gearing it in the right direction. The county commission should be giving you the $30 or $40 million that you well deserve in order to fix this system, to give our teachers a raise, to make sure that they have the things, the tools that they need. We're putting 3 times as much money on the inmate than we are on our children. That's insane.
Mr. Carter.
We can do better. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just say this again. appreciate what all of you do, and I hope that you have the courage to continue the good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Gary Deaton. I'm chairman of the county commission. And Dr. Jones, you can tell everybody don't love you. Tough job. Everybody don't love the school board, and everybody don't love the county commission. But at the end of the day, we have a job to do, and I appreciate all the things you're going to go through. And I like to say, I like to speak for myself, and as well as the majority of the county commission, the 10-year plan that Dr. Jones has is one I think has got credibility, is responsible, and I appreciate what that teacher just said. He gave you the reason that you have a vision. I think you know what you're doing. You got a good team around you. You got a good man in Ray Washington. So you're working together, and I hope this school board will come behind you, build a foundation for you to help you achieve the things that needs to be achieved. Everybody has got concerns, and education is on the minds of many people. We may have different things we'd like to see done. We can't do them all at the same time. And I hear a lot about why the county commission hadn't funded the education. Well, we do our very best to fund whatever you've requested in the past. I think if you'll go back and look, there's very few things that we've turned down in education that we didn't fund. When over 60% of our budget goes to funding education, I think it's done a respectable job over the years. The school and the education are two separate things. Building a jail is not something anybody wants to have to do, but we have to do it. But it has nothing to do with what we're going to fund for education. If the $50 million that will be spent on the jail is only a portion of what we'll spend on education in the next 5 years. So you can't compare the two. Why are we comparing the two, I don't know. But our decisions that we make in education has nothing to do with the fact we're building a jail because we don't have any other choice. See, everybody don't love you, Dr. Jones. Everybody don't love me. But we're doing what we have to do. I just want to say the community's behind you, the Chamber of Commerce behind you. I hope the school board is behind you, the county commission is behind you, and we need to work together, not apart. If we can work together, we can achieve a lot of things in the coming years. So I appreciate the job you've done, and I hope you stick with it.
Thank you, Commissioner Deaton.
I'm going to ask every one of you right now.
Your name, sir?
Kip Hornberger. I want to ask every one of you to look behind me. You see this room? And I'm sure if you had one bigger, we could put more people in it. Gary Deaton, you're wrong. You don't have to build a jail.
You tell the state that.
I'm telling you right now, you can put the money in the school. Now back to the topic at hand. I'm going to ask you school board members to please back Dr. Jones. I support this man. I'm a product of this school system, and I graduated from JCM in 1995. I proceeded to work 2 years after that and go to school, and I have an associate's degree in drafting and design. And I want every one of you to answer this question. Don't you want to see more kids come out of this school system and go to college? I'm asking you to answer that for me. A nod, yes or no?
Yes.
Of course we do.
My daughter graduated from Madison Academic just past year. She's at Austin Peay studying psychology. Don't you want more students out of this school system doing that? I do. To build a house, you have to lay the ground foundation. You have to prepare the groundwork to lay this foundation. You just can't go out and stick walls up. That goes for the jail, Gary Deaton. I'm asking you to support this, to support Dr. Jones. My stepson was moved. We live in South Jackson. He was moved to South Elementary You know how long it took me just to get one way to pick him up? 45 minutes, and that's after 5 o'clock. He had to stay in an aftercare program. I go in there and guess what they're doing? They're playing in the gym. That's the perfect time to teach these kids and let them get their homework so they're not doing it at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. This is the first meeting that I've been to, and I'm furious. Mr. Merriweather, don't bring race into this because that's not what it's about. You know what? There's white people here, there's black people here, but we're standing together. Please don't do that. We're far beyond that today. This is 2018. The last thing I want to say is if you guys don't want to support Dr. Jones and allow him to lay this groundwork, I only got 2 words: a disgrace.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Terry Spearman, and the reason I'm not going to even need my 3 minutes. My biggest, of course, I have kids in the Jackson-Madison County School District, and I have got a chance, the opportunity to meet Dr. Jones, and I support his 10-year plan. But my thing is this right here: what about the 1, the 2, the 3-year plan? Because I have a daughter right now in high school, that doesn't, she's an honor student, thankfully. They say she is, but she's not. Because this is the reason she's not. And not only my daughter, I'm not chastising my daughter, I know other children as well. Of course, I'm old school. I'm a 1982 graduate of Jackson-Madison High School. And as have I mentioned before, as far as curriculum is concerned, now if a child, not only they overcrowd in these classrooms, but now every child learns differently, okay? Some sit in the back of the class, can't hear properly because the teacher don't speak adequately, don't speak loud enough. But here's the thing. Now if they don't get it in a 45, 50-minute block period, whatever time they in class, they don't get it. But at the same time, they do have some old books that they are bringing home now, like old algebra books. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? That's a good thing, even though they old, but math don't change. But finally, they got a book. Because typically, if they don't get it in 45, 50-minute block period in class, like I did when I was in school, me and my sisters, we had a book to bring home to share with our parents, guardians, uncles, aunts, sisters, brothers, whomever. Now if they don't get it in 45, 50 minutes, guess what? They don't get it. And y'all talking about test scores? Really? Get them something, get them the adequate tools they use so that when they leave high school, they will be able to go to college or anywhere else, wherever they choose to go, military, whatever, and will not be intimidated because my daughter said this out of her own mouth. I don't know what it's like to learn from a book, and that's offensive. Now I'm asking you all on this body to be a part. I know it's a 10-year plan. I commend that, but we got to adjust something real quick. So I'm asking y'all right now to be a part of the solution instead of being a part of the problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spearman. We'll take one more. We have time for one more to give comments.
Good evening. I'm Pastor Smith, Pastor Wayne Smith. And I want to say, first of all, to Dr. Jones, I think you've done an exceptional job with the conditions that you took upon your shoulders. I visit the schools frequently, constantly, and I know that we are underachieving. But the situation didn't just happen when you came on board. The situation that you're being targeted for is our problem. When we had the proper time to stand up and do what we should have done, I'm not going to place the blame on you. It's us that have failed our students. When we go into schools, the conduct of the students, the board, I pray that you will get involved with us coming up with a disciplinary plan to assist the teachers. I wished it was possible that each and every board member would have to spend one day as a substitute teacher. Not in the school of your choice, but in other schools. Walk in the shoes of the educators. They have a difficult job. The superintendent has a difficult job. It's easy to stand on the outside and talk about what should happen, but stand in the midst of the battle. Are you prepared? The other thing that I want to say, it's time to come together. In-house fighting is uncalled for. Leave 19 way back yonder where it was, and let's move forward because our children are watching and falling behind. Thank you.
I'll keep this extremely brief. David Wicker, I'm the principal at West Bemis Middle School. And I think that the Lord puts things in our lives when they need to be there. I received a text message from one of my teachers today, and it was simply a photo. It's a young man, one of my special needs kids, who doesn't have the ability to tie his shoes. And in that picture, there's another young man who, without request, without demand from anyone, walked over to that child, bent down on his knees, and helped him tie that shoe. When I asked that young man, and I said, I'm very proud of you, son, very proud of you. I said, what made you do it? And he looked at me and he said, Mr. Wicker, it's like you said, we're better when we work together. So tonight I just pray, I pray above all prayers that we take the words of one of our children. He is our child. These are our children. I've got 2 sons at home, and I've got 527 kids at school who are my kids. Every one of them, and they get there safely, and they go home safely every day. And I thank the Lord for it every night before I go to bed, and I praise him when I get up in the morning and thank him again that they're back with me, because there's nowhere, and I've said this 1,000 times to 1,000 people, and I'll say it one more time in front of everybody. I trust no one more than us, and us is JMCSS. Please listen to that child when he said, we are better when we work together.
Thank you. That concludes our time for public comments. Moving on, the next item on the agenda was to be an appearance before the board by City Councilman Ernest Brooks and Anita Graves to speak on Do the Right Thing, but because they felt like it would be, due to the agenda, it would be a time-consuming meeting tonight, they decided not to appear before us tonight. So we'll move on to the JMCEA announcement and report by Ms. Earlene Price, JMCEA President.
I would like to thank the board for giving JMCA a voice during board meetings and for moving committee meetings to a time that's more appropriate for teachers to come, and for all the work that you have done and will do for students, teachers, and staff. And I would like to say that JMCA has confidence in Dr. Jones' plan for the future of our district. However, when there are concerns, we are in continual communication, that's Dr. Jones and I, about those concerns. So thank you again.
Thank you, Mrs. Price. Now on to our financial report. I know that Mike Nichols called me and is unable to be here, so Mrs. Holly Keller is going to give us our report.
Good evening. We have 16 budget amendments this month. Item number 1 is school-age child care program in the amount of $67,270. This amendment appropriates funding for child care programs at Nova Early Learning Center and South Elementary to be sustained by registration and weekly fees paid by the parents and of the children who participate. Item number 2, $39,649, State Priority Schools Grant. This amendment aligns the original estimated fiscal year 19 budget to the actual budget approved by the state. These funds provide supplemental services at Lincoln Elementary and JCT. Item number 3, $84,500. This amendment moves available funding to cover 3 new educational assistant positions at Liberty Technology High School and 1 new educational assistant position at North Parkway Middle School. Items 4 through 15 are all amendments to the federal funds that align our general ledger to the budget revisions in E-Plan. These revisions include the addition of the fiscal year 18 carryover funds. The last item, number 16, is in education capital, $2,788,000. This amendment will appropriate available fund balance for the addition of a classroom wing at the former Whitehall Elementary School. This project is slated to begin no later than November 1st.
Mrs. Keller, I have a question concerning that. I've already asked Dr. Jones, but I just asked you to explain to the rest of the board why that is coming out of fund balance.
The county commission approved funding for the schools in the amount of $10 million. We appropriated a small part of that into our current budget already. The available funding is in fund balance, and we were to come to the board and commission as we move throughout the year and those projects come about. So this is one project.
But that money will go back in the fund balance?
No, no.
It will not?
We have excess funding in our fund balance. That's unusual.
So I think what he's saying, we're not dipping into our current fund balance. This is money that's already been appropriated.
It is in the education capital fund balance.
Okay, so as the capital fund balance?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's there so that we can, as we need it, request those funds to move up into the budget.
So that will not hurt teacher?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
The general purpose monthly financial statement is posted in e-meetings along with the quarterly school expenditure report and the quarterly utility analysis. Due to the short turnaround time this month, these were just posted today. Please take time to review these reports at your convenience and let me know if you've got any questions. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Kevin?
Yes.
I've got one question. Holly, I have one question on the monthly financial statement. The thing that jumped out at me there was the technology. It looks like at the end of the first quarter, we spent 50% of our budget. Is that a one-time, is that a trend, or is that just a one-time anomaly?
We have encumbered our copier lease for the year there, and so you've got that large encumbrance.
So this is more of a timing issue?
It is.
Than a trend?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is action items. And the first item is the Education Foundation nomination. Jeff Wall was elected to the county commission, and he is coming off of the Early Foundation Board. So tonight, we are going to appoint somebody to be in their place. You have a piece of paper with a ballot in your folder that has the 4 names that have been turned in to fill that spot. The four persons whose names have been turned in are Jennifer Malugian, Clarence Boone, Kara Reeves, Sheila Arnold. I also wanted to say it. We all know that through the information we got on e-meeting that Gary Taylor says a 1-year term on his. I did speak to him, and he does want to remain on the Early Education Foundation. And he does want to stay on there, and he explained to me today that they've changed some of the bylaws, tweaked them just a little bit. And I believe Dale Thomas knows about it, and can explain it if anybody has any questions. But from what Gary told me, their terms will not actually start till January of 19, is what he explained to me. Is that correct? So we will just vote to replace Jeff Wall. So if we just want to vote on the ballot and pass it down, do we need?
Mr. Chairman?
Is there any discussion? Yes.
Could you clarify and explain what you're talking about Mr. Taylor on the foundation?
Mr. Thomas, would you like to, because you understand it more than me, I had a 2-minute conversation with him.
How the foundation is working.
It's right here.
The way the foundation works, the county, the city, and the school board each appoint 3 members of the educational foundation. These positions are the first one's for 1 year, one's for 2 years, one's for 3 years, so that we'll have rotation. Because there's been some issues with the bylaws, we have the attorneys for the 3 entities have been working together, and the terms will actually start January 1, 2019.
Okay, so Mr. Taylor's term was a 1-year term, even though he was appointed about this time last year. He technically hasn't started his term yet.
I don't remember, was he a 1-year term?
He was a 1-year term.
So that's right. So he would have a January 1, 2019 beginning date.
So, Mr. Chairman, we probably don't need to worry about reappointing him
Right,
at this
that's correct.
point. Okay,
That's correct.
thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
And I'll just add something else. The plan is that the bylaws are going to be presented to the foundation board and hopefully approved as written. And then each of the other 3 entities, after the foundation board approves it, those bylaws will come to the board, the county, and the city for approval, so that everybody's on the same page and agree to this one set of bylaws. So,
Any estimation on when that's going to happen?
I'm waiting. Scott Conger told me that he was trying to set a meeting of the foundation board to get the foundation board to approve it. I don't know if he has set that meeting yet, but after that meeting is set and the foundation board approves it, then we're going to start the cycle of getting the other 3 on board.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. So if everybody wants to vote, and then we'll just vote them and pass them down to Janet. Clarence Boone was elected to that position of the Early Foundation. Education Foundation. I don't know why I want to say early all the time. I got that in my head for some reason. Get to these kids early. All right, next action item would be turnaround first, which I would like to speak to. It's something that's it's really been on my heart over the last 2 years, and I'm not sure, I don't need a motion. Do I need a motion before I speak to it, or can I speak to it? And I would just like to speak to it. I wrote some things, I've typed some things down. I make this motion, I want to make this motion in just a few minutes for 4 reasons. Of course, some of our media makes it sound like our district is doing just fine. The truth is we are not doing well at all. If you could look at the district ranking sites on the internet, such as School Digger, School Niche, or GreatSchools.com, or TN State Report card, you will see what the entire world sees on the internet concerning our ranking as a district. Our district is ranked in the bottom 10% of all districts in the state for 5 straight years, with 5 straight years of decline in rankings. Just think about that. We've lost ground for 5 consecutive years. This started over time, and it is continuing. The second reason is these same websites rank the counties around us much higher. For instance, on this handout, I have a handout, but I'm not going to pass that out right now. It shows charts from School Digger's site, and the rankings, in the rankings, Henderson County is ranked 25th in the state. Gibson County is ranked 21st in the state. Dyer County is ranked 14th in the state, and Chester County is ranked 42nd in the state. But again, we're around 130 of 140 school districts according to what is on the internet. All of this on the internet is what has influenced parents to leave and go elsewhere. It causes industry to go elsewhere with fewer employment opportunities, with good paying jobs. Our county experiences higher crime and the need for more jail beds. When these parents leave Madison County for a neighboring county, our tax base goes down. The neighboring county taxes revenue goes up, and without them having to raise taxes. For 2+ years I have served on this board, we have invested a huge amount of effort talking about buildings. But the bottom line is that new buildings do not address the problem. It is what goes on inside those buildings that addresses the problem. If we fix these problems, parents will be attracted to our schools, and new revenues from additional students will help pay for several new schools in the days ahead. I believe it all starts with a turnaround mentality. Whatever we have been doing for the last 5 years must change. So I'd like to make a motion to this board that we have turnaround first be a major consideration in all of our decisions as a board as we strive to be in the top 20% of state rankings as a district within 5 years.
Second.
What'd you say?
Second.
Second, yeah, second, thank you. Any discussion?
Well, I have a question. I'm not sure what turnaround first is. Is it like a federal project, or is it just something, is it a word you came up with? This is so out of left field for me. Maybe you're talking in a language I don't understand, but.
Well, the whole point is that for 2 years that I've been on the board, we've been talking about buildings. And I understand we have to talk about buildings, but I want to start talking about the classroom, and I want to make everything that we do focus on that and what is better for our students and our
Okay, with all due respect, Mr. Alexander, I've attended board meetings for the last 18 months. This is my second board meeting. I've heard a lot of talk about buildings, but I'm pretty sure that Dr. Myrickle and his team have implemented curriculum in our school system over the last year. Last year, I do believe it was a math curriculum, and this year it's been an ELA curriculum. Dr. Myrickle, correct me if I'm wrong, I may have that mixed up. And as a parent in this system, I can speak to the fact that that curriculum is fantastic. And so to me, that's not a conversation about buildings, that's a conversation about curriculum. And I've had numerous conversations with Dr. Jones, with Dr. Myracle, and it is very obvious to me that Dr. Myracle is very well educated on curriculum. So kudos to you, Dr. Jones, for choosing him to be in charge of that, because he knows what he's doing. And so, again, no disrespect, but I think we've had conversations about things other than buildings.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
We're hung up on this ranking thing. Let's use a different analogy. If you've got 10 teams out there, and 8 of those teams are performing at 50%, doing whatever, and 2 of them are doing just great, and you're down here at number 6, you pick up and you start performing better. Your scores in the game are coming up. Every team member is improving. But yet, these others improve a little bit more. That's representative. You're still representing. You're improving. You're not going backwards. Just rankings aren't a lack of improvement.
And that's not what I'm saying.
That's exactly
Well,
what
I'm
it says.
confused about what you're saying. So if you have something you could pass me where that I could read, that I could understand, you know, that would be fantastic.
If you're wanting a motion on the buzz phrase, let's say that. Because that's all this is.
What are you saying?
Mr. Chairman.
Say that again, Wayne. What'd you say?
If you're just asking for a motion for a buzz phrase, that's all this is. If you don't think that this system, this board, this superintendent, and the leadership team he's put in place have put that first for the last 16 months.
Then you haven't been paying
you're
attention,
sadly
Mr.
mistaken.
Chairman.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Morris.
Mr. Arnold, I apologize for cutting you off.
That's quite all right.
Mr. Chairman, I guess I missed it. I thought we was here, and what I heard the people saying, that we was gonna put the cards on the table, that we were gonna be real. Now we're having board members pinning against board members, pinning against the chairman. Anyone in their right mind know that we have problems in Madison County school system. We're number 130 out of 140. That has nothing to do with you, Dr. Jarrett. You just come in here. That has nothing to do with you, Dr. Jones.
True.
You just come in here. So let's put them off the table. And let's look at, we sit here in Madison County. You allowed the last 2 superintendents that we have to get us in this mess we got in with this Vision 2020, and you want to play games. Now, I'm one board member. You've been knowing me a long time here in Madison County. Enough is enough. It's time to get real. It's time to face the problem that everything is not hunky-dory. Now, it's time when we can come together. Don't give me that race card about I'm playing race card. I'm not a racist. I'm a realist. And it's time out. Our kids are failing. We have discipline problem in 4 of our priority schools. Dr. Epperson is in need of help, not tomorrow, yesterday. And we got morale problem. You're saying, oh, we have the teachers are doing better than that. That's a lie. The teachers are upset. I cannot go to the grocery store. I cannot go out in my yard for people pulling in the driveway and talking and complaining. That's real. And so let's just put the cards on the table. Only thing we're saying about the turnaround, it's easy to understand what the turnaround is. It's this, if you don't know it. It's turning around. Now we know what turnaround is. Turnaround is changing things, turning around. And now we need to go to the board retreat on the 20th and sit down at the table, and all 9 of us, along with the superintendent and anyone else, we need to work this problem out and come back on the November board meeting and do something. Now listen to this. This is my last comment to you. This room is packed. Let's be real. When I pointed you, I'm pointing at myself. The room is packed. This room has not been packed. We have not had to move to this place, but a lot of the people came out because they wanted to see what we're going to have. Were we going to try to hang Dr. Jones with Dr. Jones' team? We're going to try to hang the board member. Let's be real. Let's face it. You've been in church.
You just left. So it's time now that we put the cards on the table. It's not about race. It's about children. I have an agenda. It's not hidden. I'm going to put it on the table. It's a public agenda. My agenda is all children. I don't care what color you are. You need an education. And we're going to fight. At least one board member is going to be fighting like hell. And it's time the rest of them join me and fight. Put this other stuff aside. I don't have any problem with Dr. Jones. If I had it, I say it publicly. I don't have no reason to run away from you or tell them. Whatever I got to say, you know me in Jackson, Tennessee, I say it. And I'm saying it tonight. Stop all this stuff trying to pretend that we out here to hang Dr. Jones. We out here to hang you too. You need to come out and help us to make sure all of the children get an education, get a good chance. I've had enough of this mess.
For the record,
well, I guess it's time for me to put my 2 cents in also. The turnaround is helping children succeed. And the board members are not fighting, at least that's what I thought. When Mr. Mayweather made the motion to table certain agendas, I decided that yes, this is the time to do that because it's a give-take situation. Dr. Jones came up with some concessions with the 10-year plan. The board members should come up with concessions also. This is what it's all about because we all agree with Dr. Jones. He is a visionary. And no one is against or fighting Dr. Jones. And we are new board members and we have old board members. And we all should, and as far as me, I only met these people when I was elected. So there should not be any problems with anybody. And we have been getting along. And you know, this is the state of where we are in this country, that people should not get along. But I'm stating today that we all should get along. We should, because it's for the children. So this is why we have decided to table things, go on our retreat, talk everything out, and do what is best for children. And that's all it should be about, the children, the community, and make it happen, make it work.
Mr. Chairman, one last point, and then I'll call for the question. I'm not saying this is wrong. All I'm saying is quit kicking down 5 years. We showed improvement in the very first year. We showed massive improvement. We're not anywhere near where we need to be. I understand it. We're nowhere near where we need to be, but we're on the road. And that's my thing. All this does is make a statement of, it sets an artificial deadline. There's absolutely no way, barring the miracle of miracles and him actually being the reincarnation that some people think he is, which I don't. So I'll call for the question.
Mr. Chairman, beforehand, you know, I've been on this board since 2012. And every board member has a right to express him or herself according to the district that they represent. Every board member may not agree to what's been stated or how it's been stated, but when you have parents coming to you and they have issues within this district or whatever problems or concerns that they have, they are expecting us to make it known. Mr. Alexander, he's just only doing his job. Parents have come to him, and every other board member, there's no right or wrong way, but when board members are approached by teachers, students, parents, even stakeholders in the community, have issues with what's going on at this present time. It's not to say that no board member is speaking out against Dr. Jones or any other else board member, but they're just stating the facts as it comes to them by the people in the community. And we just need to have enough respect for each and every board member to understand where they're coming from. It's not to take anything down. This turnaround, pretty much, I don't know too much about it, but it's open for discussion when we go to the board retreat. And when it comes after the board retreat and it's brought back forth, then maybe everybody have a better understanding as to what agenda, what purpose, what this is intending to do. But the number one issue in our district as it stands now is money being put in this district as much as is needed for the jail, in order for having for education, for curriculum, for our teachers and everything else. It's just that we just don't have enough funding. If we had enough funding, then some of these issues would not be brought out today. We would not be sitting here today because we would have enough funding to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do as we sit here as board members.
Yes.
Do I have a second for the call for the question, or do we just want to go ahead and vote on the motion? Oh, you seconded it?
Second is already,
second.
yeah, it was second already.
Okay, it takes two-thirds vote. Does it take two-thirds? It does take two-thirds vote. Does it call for the question?
No, the question's called for, you vote.
Okay, my bad. I've just got confused and.
Okay.
Could someone please restate the motion that we're voting on?
I make the motion that turnaround first be a major consideration in all our decisions as a board as we strive to be in the top 20% of state rankings in the district within 5 years. It's simply a goal.
Second.
So it's already been seconded.
Okay.
We're
I thought we were doing it over because.
ready to vote. Please raise your hand so Janet can count it. Is everybody ready to vote?
Yes.
Everybody raise your hand. Say aye if you're for the motion.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody against? Mrs. Stewart. Next agenda item is number four, 7.4, option on K-8 land in Northwest. Mr. Jones? Dr. Jones?
Yes, thank you. Before we go into talking about the capital plan, I want to say this. I came back home to a place that I knew that was in a rough place. I knew that when I came. When I was here, I chose to go to a place and I knew it was in a rough place. And we made progress. Those are the 4 best years of my life in education when I was at JCM. I uprooted my family and a whole group of us. Went to J.O. Johnson High School in Huntsville to the exact same situation. I knew where I was going. All right, I picked up and left to go do God's work at J.O. Johnson High School. School looked exactly like where JCM was when I came into it. Same story, same headlines, same issues. I chose to do that. I chose to go where people did not want to go. I made that decision. And in each one of those places, it took time, it took patience, it took tough decisions, it took going through a storm before you get to a norm. And here we are again. I went to the private sector, was enjoying private life, a good life, a quiet life. And I chose to uproot my family and come back to Jackson, Tennessee. I'm not from Jackson. I'm from the country. But I chose to go where I knew it was tough. When I knew, I can pull up online and see as well that we're 130 out of 140. But I chose to come here. And I chose to come and serve each and every one of you. But I came here because I knew where we were. And I felt I could contribute something to the change. Now, the part that we're not going to like to hear is that we all have played a role in being where we are today. And we can point fingers all day long, but it's not going to solve a thing. To get out of this hole we're in, as a community, we're going to have to dig deep. There's some issues in this community that run deep. Been running deep for years. And I understand that. We didn't get to this point overnight. And we're not going to get out of here for a while. I noticed the claps didn't come then because I told you something you didn't want to hear. It's going to take us a while to get out of this. And sometimes the progress may look like we're going backwards because we got to go through something to come out right on the other side. But I've seen this process. And I am all about turn around first. And you may be looking for a nice, shiny gadget, a nice, shiny program that I'm going to drop in here and turn this thing around. If you're looking for it, you need to find somebody else. I'm not the person for you. And that's okay. But what will happen, we will put our nose to the grindstone. I will build capacity with our leaders, which is where it all starts. And that takes time. And they're working their tails off. I understand what it's like to have teachers crying because they're dealing with the discipline issues in our schools. But those same children are our children. And yes, it's tough. It's extremely tough. It takes a supernatural patience and endurance to overcome that. But we can't sit here and act like those children that we sit here talking about are not ours. They look just like us. And they're cutting up in these schools. They learn that somewhere. So until this community decides that it's all of our problems, it's not a school problem. Schools are not designed to raise children.
That's right.
Woo! So until this community says we all are going to rally behind this, this is all just smoke and mirrors. I'm going to get us on track. You need to trust the process. We're going to work the plan, and we're going to get it there. Now, what we're about to talk about is capital projects. That's a totally separate issue than what we're going to be doing and what we are doing to turn around our schools. Can we do more? Can I be a better leader? You bet. And I have to be. And I will be. But we got to keep it on track. I can tell you this, I was in the system, and we made more progress that may not be seen as of yet in this last year that I think we realize. But we've got a big hole to dig out of, and it is going to take time. Some of these capital moves that we're going to make, I think will go a long way in alleviating what has been put on our schools in terms of crowding in our most at-risk schools. I know what it's like when you have 800 at-risk students. It feels like it's 1,600. This plan is designed to help do that. I'm not here to talk about how it's going to be funded. I just need it funded. That's not my job. I'm here to lay out the vision. I'm here to lead. And the school board sets policy. The superintendent leads. The superintendent leads. But the day that I can't lead is the day I need to move on. But I ain't ready to move on.
Dr. Jones, I think we can solve the financial problem. Let's just pass the plate right now. I think we can take care of that issue right now.
I want to say this on the capital plan. I think we need to lay out the capital plan before we vote. And I want to say this last thing. All 9 of the board members, it is my job to build a relationship with you. And it's my job to keep us together. And I'm going to do that. And I love each and every one of you. I got your back. You get mine. And we'll be all right. So, real quick, on this capital plan, of course, when I came in, we had $148 million worth of needs in our buildings that were 30 years or older. We're just talking about buildings that are 30 years or older. We had quite a few buildings that were in bad shape, and how they got there is how they got there. But this is designed to get us out of there. And we've done quite a bit in the last 2 years to get our buildings, for the most part. We still have a few that we're working on to get us leak-free. That sounds crazy, but that's the first thing we had to do, getting leaky buildings and safer buildings. And we started down that path. But as you look at the buildings, some buildings it didn't make sense to invest the type of money that it needed to be invested to fix it. You could build anew and get something different. And that's where we are. And part of this is all designed to move our district forward. This is just one piece. Do not get too lost in this piece. This is one piece of the puzzle. All right? But first thing we had to do is ensure every dollar we spend is spent efficient and effective use of our funds. We want to leverage the resources we have in this community. Jackson has so many resources that were just being untapped, and that was our goal to try to do that. But with that being said, you've seen the plan. There have been a few adjustments here of late that I think ultimately are going to be of benefit to where we want to go. Ultimately, it's about doing what's right for children and doing what's right for this community. And those were what went into those decisions. And you might not better read that, but I'll tell you what it says. The first place we're starting, Lincoln, is a building that is not in good shape, and the cost to continue to fix it was well more than the building was actually worth. So we started looking around, and where could we go? We decided Whitehall. So we're now doing a $3.4 million renovation to Whitehall. Let me say that again. $3.4 million investment and renovation into Whitehall. Lincoln will be moving into Whitehall in the summer of 2019. All right? We also have talked about discussion of the K-8 in the Northwest. That goal is fall of 2020. That will ultimately lead to the closing of Pope. The next piece is a new junior, senior high school, 6 through 12, in the East Cluster in the fall of 2020. For all intents and purposes, this is JCM. Not in all intents and purposes. This is JCM. It will open in fall of 2020 via a public-private partnership if we get that funded. And we will have JCM, a brand-new building built on that backside. We will be looking at moving Early College High to the west part of the JCM building. We will do renovations there. And we will move Alexander over to Early College High, where we will do renovations to accommodate a small K-5. So you have a K-5 there at the old Early College campus, and you will have a 6 through 12 junior, senior Jackson Central Mary High School right across the street. A branch, so you will have the students that can now go from Whitehall to this 612. You have students that can go from the new elementary to this 612. This will alleviate crowding at Liberty and North Parkway. You have this center cluster that will now be pulled back to the center cluster. And you have a neighborhood school of K-12 right in the East Jackson center cluster community. You also will have a new Madison High School. The current building that we're in will cost about $13 million to ultimately get up to par, and it made more sense to move to the University of Memphis at Lambeth campus, where they are not using those gyms, they're not using their athletic fields, a lot of the rooms that we can take advantage of. And we will be asking the public-private piece to go there as well. So you have two projects that will be coming out of the public-private, a new Madison and also a new JCM. Also, as a part of that, we will be asking this to be a joint venture between the city and the county. And that is how we will be requesting this to come about. The community Montessori will now have a zone component of 25% with a weight status put on the lottery into Madison Academic for those that are in that area right around the University of Memphis at Lambeth, that Atlanta area. Those students will now have 25% chance to get into there on a zone component. And there will be weight placed on those that get in the Montessori through a zone component to get into Madison. We will also finish out the completion of these priority projects over the next 10 years to get all of our buildings up to par. Our Workforce Development Center, that will include the partnerships with all of these entities, will now continue to be moving forward. We will determine in our retreat what's the best possible location for that workforce development, and we are already doing quite a few things in that regard. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. What has always been in our plan is the current renovation of the north side and south side football complexes. Those stadiums are in desperate need of support, and we're going to take care of those. We also are in the talks of how we can get a track somehow in Jackson, Tennessee. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
All right? We're working on getting us a track. Also, what has always been a part of the plan, we will continue to look at a possible K-8 plan in the South Cluster at South, West Bemis, and Denmark. We also will be talking about ways to expand our pre-K program.
Yes.
I agree. We need to say that again. And we are looking at possibly doing that at our site at Melissa's. Our possible expansion of the Montessori program as well at a site to be determined. Now, this is not how the school is going to look, but it gives you something to think about. So, this plan, I definitely believe, addresses a lot of issues. It doesn't address them all. And again, this is one part of an overall plan. And in the retreat, I'll be sure to lay out every single thing that we're doing in schools that you may not know about that are contributing to us moving forward. But again, I say, let's stay unified. As a community, let's take ownership of what's happening in our community. Because what's happening in our schools is a direct reflection of what's happening in our community. So let's all stay together and let's continue to move forward.
I'm here. Yeah. Beach Bluff is being currently used as a community center by the community. They really like it.
So they can't build new schools out that way, or?
Rose Hill's serving adequately. There's still space at Rose Hill.
Hey, we need to stop.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Option on K-8 land in Northwest. Are you doing?
And so now we are have an opportunity to take out an option on land. All this is, we will I'm asking the board to take out an option of $10,000 to hold land for 6 months as we take time to vet if that land will be suitable to build a K-8 in the future. And after 6 months, we have to decide, A, whether we want to build there and purchase, or B, do we want to pursue other land. But at the end of 6 months, we either have to extend the option, which will have a monetary value, or we decide we're not going to purchase, or we move forward with a request of purchase of this land.
And that's 6 months, you said?
That's 6 months, yes.
I'll make a motion to that
I
effect.
second.
Motion made by Mr. Massey and seconded by Mrs. Stewart. And the motion was made to approve a 60 days request for proposal for landowner. No, I'm reading the wrong thing. It ain't come up yet. Would you state the motion? Mine's not, it's not pull up.
Should I
Yes.
just point out, I've actually drafted a resolution that
We
you should
have a copy
have
of that.
that would take care of the option agreement piece. If the motion is to approve that resolution that authorizes either the superintendent or the board chair to sign the option agreement. What is that?
Revise my motion to allow superintendent to sign that proposal, that resolution, excuse me.
He's right, he's doing it right. I did second, yes.
Any discussion?
Question's been called for.
Is everybody ready to vote? Do we want to do a roll call vote?
Yes.
Ms. Janice, would that help you if we did a roll call vote?
Yep. Could you state your full motion, though, Mr. Massey?
I move that we allow our superintendent to sign the proposal that's been prepared for the K-8 property in the northwest quadrant of Madison County. That's included in our packet. Does that suffice, Dr. Jones?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not the first time. You doing by roll call? Okay. Yes. Ms. Campbell?
Yes.
She's doing roll call.
Ms. Hampton?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Massey?
Yes.
Yes.
And Ms. Stewart?
Yes.
And Mr.
Yes. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to the next item on our agenda is 7.10, Healthy Community Letter of Intent, Public-Private Madison and East Cluster Middle School.
Yes, this will be the new JCM and the University of Memphis, Madison, the University of Memphis, the Lambeth campus we are requesting that this go now with a letter of intent. This will be a partnership with Healthy Community CRA that will allow the city and the county to get involved financially and essentially after 7 years of paying debt service, it will then go to the point to where it will need to be paid, and the city, we're proposing that the city take on the university, take on the Madison campus, and we are asking the county commission to pay for the JCM campus. And that will be a part of this. This letter of intent moves the process forward, but of course it has to go to both bodies to be approved. But this is simply us saying that we agree with the 2 schools that are being proposed, and we are signing a letter of intent that can now move this forward and get it to those bodies to hopefully vote on. Dale, did I leave anything off?
The point of the letter of intent, I thought it might be important to point this out, is that what this does is it allows us to realize a 20% savings through new market tax credits. So, for instance, if a school costs $30 million, it allows you to realize $6 million in savings to go through the new market tax credit. And what this letter of intent does, it allows Healthy Community to go to banks and try to obtain all these new market tax credit, this piece, so that we can actually, at the end of the day, save 20%. So that's what the benefit of this piece is. For 7 years, the school system will pay basically a capital lease payment to Healthy Community. And at the end of 7 years, the school system will purchase those 2 properties. Of course, we would have a ground lease at Lambeth because we don't own that property, but we'd have a long-term ground lease that will allow us to use their facilities and have that property. So, but I think Dr. Jones covered everything else.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Go ahead. I'll move that we enter into the letter of intent.
A second.
Any discussion? Jim?
Dale, who executes this? Is this the superintendent?
We would need, either the superintendent or the chairman
Okay.
would need authority to execute this letter of intent. So that would need to be part of the motion.
I'll amend my motion to grant the superintendent or the chairman the authority to sign that letter of intent.
And I second it.
Any more discussion? Any discussion? Everybody ready to vote?
Call for question.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Say aye.
Aye.
Anybody, any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Can't speak. Next on the agenda is questions unrelated to board agenda items for the superintendent.
I'll address a couple of things here. Of course, in our, as I said earlier, when I took this position last year, we had roughly 8 schools that were performing in the bottom 10% of the state, and a lot of things trending downward. And due to, it's a long story of how we this accountability works, but we already have 2 priority schools that had already been in existence, and that was JCT and also Lincoln. Lincoln is making great progress, and I really do anticipate them getting off that list pretty soon. LaDonna Braswell is doing great work there. JCT showed signs of progress, and we now have new leadership, and they are in the process of change. But we also have 2 priority schools that are now a part of that list as well, and that is Arlington Elementary, and we also have Isaac Lane Elementary. And we will receive a significant amount of priority school money, and a lot of the things that we've talked about today that are issues, especially discipline, cultural diversity training, all those things are now dealing with students that have trauma. We have a lot of students that are coming from home lives that are significantly impairing their ability to be successful in the classroom, and we need to help our teachers help them. It's not an issue of love and care, it's an issue of help me help them. I want to help them, and we need to do more to support that, and we have a lot of training that's going to be taking place utilizing those funds, as in our other center cluster schools, because it is an issue that has to be addressed. And that leads me to talk about the issues at Liberty. And Liberty does have a significant amount of students, and at-risk students in that population. And what we've done for 2 weeks ago, sat down with Dr. Epperson and her team. We have added 4 staff members there, and their entire purpose is to build relationships with students, help monitor the halls, help de-escalate issues before they get out of control, and some of them have already started. We're already seeing a lot more calm there. Long term at Liberty, we're going to have to discuss some things at the retreat that I think will go a long way in helping that. And also, I think we've taken a major step with some of the zoning changes that we made that will help alleviate some of those issues there. But I want to say this, that I know that the teachers and administration at Liberty are working extremely hard. We've made some other adjustments that have helped curb some issues there. But the biggest thing is we have to continue to build capacity and help teachers help students. And that is part of my job. And then the last piece was the teacher attrition data. It is actually, if you look at it, in terms of resignations, it is very similar to what it was previously, but the number of retirees went down significantly, and so that is a good sign. Now, as you compare us to the national average, we're not off. We're roughly 10% of our staff turns over every year. That's not good, but this is a nationwide phenomenon. I travel the country doing this work, and Jackson, what's happening in Jackson is not unique, unfortunately. But it still does not change the fact that we want that trend to go down. And unfortunately, it's going to take time. But we have to continue to work on our climate and culture. We have to continue to listen to our teachers, listen to Erlene and JMCEA, and adjust accordingly. But some of this will just take time.
Any questions for Dr. Jones?
Dr. Jones, if you think it's necessary, I'd like you to clarify the data that was used for those priority school selections. The years specifically.
So yes, if you look at Arlington, so Arlington was placed on the list for data from 2 years ago. So because of the testing last year and the issues we had, that data cannot be used to put schools on the list. But what happened, it could, if you improved well enough, you could come off that list. So Arlington was performing pretty close to the bottom 5%, but not in the bottom 5%. Some schools below us outperformed us and jumped ahead of us, so therefore they had to have a bottom 5%, and we were moved down. But again, it's from data 2 years ago. It's not a reflection of what happened last year. And when you get on the priority schools list, it is mostly by proficient and performance data. It's not by growth data. So while we made great growth in a lot of those areas, our test scores were not where they needed to be. And I'm not going to even try to give you a lesson in that tonight. At the retreat, you will know more than you ever wanted to know in explaining that. So that's that.
Thank you.
Dr. Jones, I wanted to ask, where were we, or have any thought been given to developing a committee on teacher retention?
Yes, we'll be sending that. We have a list of names that we're going to be contacting those teachers. We have at least 2 representatives from each grade band, and we will be submitting those names, and we will start meeting hopefully sometime after fall break.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, I have one question, Dr. Jones. Update on the truancy piece.
So, yes, in collaboration with Judge Little, Jody Pickens, we have put in a lot of measures to address truancy. And the first, it is a proactive measure. It is not a punitive measure until it absolutely has to be. The gist of it is students are starting to be identified after 3 days of unexcused absences. We start sending letters home to parents. Once you get up to 5, we start have a mandatory meeting with the students and the parents, and we start finding out what the issues are and finding out resources we have in the community that can help combat those. And then if it moves up to the 7-8 range, you start getting to the point to where you may have to go before Judge Little to explain why you're missing school. You can't learn if you're not in school. So if parents are watching, get your students to school. We have a huge issue with truancy. But thanks to Judge Little, because I've gotten wind that things are changing in terms of students being held accountable and parents being held accountable for their child coming to school. We have a lot of growing pains that we're going to have to go through because it's a pretty labor-intensive process, and we have a large number of students that have been truant, and this is designed to curb that.
Okay, next item on the agenda is number 9, November agenda items. We request that you send them to email. If you have requests for the agenda, send them to Janeth, Dr. Jones, and all the board when you send them, please. Also, if you have anything for the retreat, please send that in. Now on to committee reports. I know Mr. Campbell with Insurance Committee.
We met Tuesday. Our report's behind tab 11.1, and I think Janice is also giving you a handout. We have 2 proposals that we're bringing with committee recommendation for your approval. If you can find them, maybe easiest in your handout. The first one is titled Health Insurance 2019 Proposal. Chart with a lot of the different health plans on it. Does everybody find that? Everybody got it? Okay. Basically, we're looking at a 2.5% increase that would be effective in December. Committee is recommending that we divide that increase pro rata with the employees. And if you look at the chart, it'll show you the impact. The EE line is for the employee, the ER is for the employer. This will this will result in an increase in our premiums of $162,000, which is about $36,000 over budget, what we budgeted for this year. That assumes, though, that all our participation levels stay just like they are, and that everybody stays in exactly the plan they got. So that number could go up or down. Are there any questions on that one? There's a dental one to discuss also. Any questions on that one? Then the next, in the very back, you'll see the proposal for the dental insurance. We had a 2% increase there. We're recommending option 2 that's laid out, which basically has the district picking up all of the impact of that and the employee nothing. And that impact would be another $14,000 on the district. Before I ask for any other questions for other committee members, Wayne or Shannon, anything to add to that?
I don't have anything to add.
No, sir.
Wayne?
No, other than just that the policies themselves don't change.
Good. No
It's the
change in the
exact same
benefits.
insurance.
Thank you, Wayne. No change in it. So any questions? This does come with the committee's recommendation for approval to the board.
So there's no need for a second?
No need for a second.
Is there any more discussion? You haven't? Ready to vote? All those in favor, raise your hand, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously.
The minutes of our meeting are there. They're interesting reading. There's some good background data on what insurance rates have done for the last 5 or 6 years. So there's some good data in that attachment to look at to give you a feel for what's going on with insurance for us. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Policy Committee also is on here, but they won't meet till the week after next. So, I think you've covered everything else. That's it. Are we ready to, am I missing, we're ready to adjourn, aren't we?
Motion?
Yep.
One
Mr.
question.
Campbell?
What's, as far as getting agenda items in for the retreat, what's the deadline for that?
What do you think?
I think we got that week coming back to fall break.
Okay. To get,
Early that week,
Okay.
early that week, so we can.
all right. Okay.
So at least by that Tuesday of the retreat.
Tuesday before the retreat.
Tuesday before the retreat.
Gives us enough time. Okay. What day is it?
That would be the 16th? 16th.
Okay.
We ready to adjourn?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Adjourn, all in favor? All right, let's go.
Aye.
Good job, man.
Morris?
Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.